Hi, I'm James Hamilton from Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal, and today we're finishing up our entryway storage bench project. It was specifically designed to help new woodworkers improve their skills. In fact, even if you don't plan to build this project, I think you'll learn a lot from watching me build it because you'll see what's possible with limited tools. I'm even working outside to prove you don't need a fancy workshop to make nice projects. In our last video, we used a circular saw and an edge guide to make all the cuts, and an attachable router to cut the dados and grooves that will hold this thing together for a lifetime. Today we'll assemble the project and apply a colored wax finish that will give the wood a beautiful aged appearance. Below this video you'll find a link to a set of plans that you may use to build this project yourself. These are important. I carefully designed this project so it can be built from materials you can buy in any home center. The goal was to minimize the amount of rip cuts required for those without a table saw. So the cut list in the plans utilizes standard board widths and lengths whenever possible. You'll also get all the dimensions and assembly drawings you need, which you can use along with the tips and tricks in these two videos to build it yourself. Now that we've cut all of our joinery and sanded each part, we can begin assembly. Glue squeeze out is always a concern. To make it easy to clean up, I'm putting some blue painter's tape along the edges of each part that will fit inside a dado, and strips on each side of the dados themselves. Now the glue squeeze out will get on the tape instead of the wood where it may soak in and spoil the finish. The trick is to wait until the glue starts to gel up like cottage cheese, then pull off the tape. Don't wait until the glue is completely dry or it'll be difficult to remove. I'm also sanding slight chamfers or bevels on the edges that will go inside the dados. As you do this, stay away from the corners because sanding there will leave visible gaps in the assembled joints. Sand only the area between the corners. This will help the edges slip into those tight-fitting dados and make assembly a lot easier. Be sure to spread the glue well, including on the edges within each dado. A brush of some kind will make this easier. As you assemble each joint, pay careful attention to the edges, making sure they're all nice and flush. The goal is for tight-fitting joints with few gaps. Depending on how many clamps you have, you may have to glue up just a few parts at a time. Clamp well, especially if your boards have cupped a bit. Now is the time to force them flat again. The first two assemblies I'm gluing up are the upper and lower compartments. Here I'm adding strips of wood to make dividers in the lower compartments wider. I could have glued these strips to their mating parts before assembly, but this just worked out well. Once the two assemblies are together, I can start attaching the side panels. This glue up will be more challenging because of the size. You may have to get creative to find places to put your clamps. For me, the bottom assembly was the most difficult because the side panels here are wider and they were cupped a little bit in the middle. Clamping on the front edge was no problem, but securing the back while forcing the cup out was a challenge. I managed, and so will you. The seat is built up from there. Here I'm using a clamp to hold the seat in place while another clamp forces the dado into alignment. Sometimes you just have to force the wood to do your will. Speaking of creative clamping, here I'm using a caul so I can apply pressure along a much wider seat panel than the assembly below it is. Without this, I'd have nothing to clamp onto in the back. Once everything's dry, touch up the edges of the joints with the sander to make everything even. Pay particular attention to the rabbet on the edges of the seat. These will be very visible. They have to look good. We'll be attaching a back panel later, and to accommodate it, we'll need a rabbet. This is easily cut now with a rabbeting router bit. Just make sure you keep the router flat on the edges of the side panels as you cut. Don't let it tip. You can use a straight bit and an edge guide if you don't have a rabbeting bit. A chisel will clean up any places where the bit wasn't able to cut, such as these intersections. Now is also a good time to double check all visible surfaces for scratches or sanding swirls before we get to the finish. What will the finish be? Bry wax. This is a colored wax that will give the pine a nice aged appearance. It can be a little tricky to apply, but it will color the wood without the ugly grain reversal that you get with regular stains and dyes. You can apply it with a pad or just a piece of cotton cloth. I do recommend gloves to keep it from coloring your fingers as well. As you apply it, work it into the wood. A little goes a long way. Don't overdo it or you'll have a lot of swirls to clean up later. That's the big challenge of bry wax. Because it's colored wax, the thicker it is, the darker it will be. So areas where the wax may be difficult to apply evenly, such as in corners or along edges, these will appear darker. You can also get streaks and swirls if you don't finish each coat by wiping in one direction with the grain. Some folks like this buildup because it adds age to a piece. Dark corners and spots can add a century or more to a project. But if you aren't looking for an aged appearance, you might not like this finish. I do like the look, but I'm also careful not to overdo it. I pay attention to the edges. I use a clean cloth to wipe away any excess before it hardens. The wax dries fairly quickly, and once it does, you have to soften it again to remove that excess buildup effectively. One way to soften it is with mineral spirits, but I find that removes too much and leaves light spots that have to be recoated again. The best way to remove the buildup, in my experience, after it hardens, is with a heat gun or a hair dryer set too low. Be careful not to overheat too large an area. Just heat a little bit at a time, wipe it with a cloth, and repeat. In truth, you're not removing it as much as softening the buildup so it can be spread out more evenly. This is especially useful inside the compartments. It's nearly impossible to avoid ugly buildup here, but a little heat and a clean cloth will take care of it. Again, we're not looking for perfection. This is intended to leave an aged appearance. We just don't want to get crazy about it. You have to buff this stuff to get a nice satin sheen. I usually apply 2 coats, buffing after the last one. An electric buffer like this one will save you a lot of elbow grease. As you buff, experiment with the pressure you apply. Light pressure will produce a nice shine. A little more pressure will soften and blend uneven areas. Too much pressure will remove wax and leave lighter spots. To avoid a lot of work with the heat gun, I waxed the back rail separately and then attached it with pocket screws afterward. Then the back panel, which I also pre-waxed, is attached with nails. Finishing these parts ahead of time saved me a lot of work. I highly recommend it. If you're wondering what that back rail was for, it holds the coat hooks. I kept them near the bottom edge to give me lots of clearance beneath the compartments above. See that dado on the bottom? I cut that by mistake. But sometimes mistakes work out because I decided this thing needs a third support on the bottom for added strength. It'll be hidden behind the base molding anyway. Speaking of base molding, I attached the 3 pre-waxed pieces together with pocket screws and pre-drilled pilot holes for the nails so I can easily tap them in without bending one over and scarring the molding. I did the same thing with the upper molding as well. As long as you don't swing your hammer wildly, you should be just fine driving these nails. And any smudges can be touched up with a little wax and a light buffing later. The outer halves of the drawer slides are attached by laying them right inside the openings. I used a combination square to set the ends back 3/4 of an inch to accommodate the thickness of the drawer fronts. An awl will be useful to create slight pilot holes so you can drive the screws easily in that confined space. The drawers themselves are simply pocket screwed together. Notice how the edges of the side panels are perfectly flush with the front panels. This is important if you want to use double-sided tape to help align the outer drawer fronts later. The bottoms are just glued and nailed on. These aren't deep drawers. You're not going to fill them with that much stuff, so the weight inside won't be enough to break these bottoms out. I mounted the inner halves of the slides flush with the front of the drawer box and 1/4 inch from the bottom, which happens to be the thickness of that bottom panel, so they were easy to position. This provides just enough clearance beneath the drawer when you slide them in place. To attach the outer drawer fronts, I put double-sided tape on the front of the drawer boxes. Then I carefully aligned the pre-waxed front panels, ensuring that the gaps were even all the way around. It helps to make shims from tape or paper, folding them in different ways to change their thickness. When everything is aligned, push hard to engage the tape on the back. Then carefully open the drawer, either with a pre-installed tape pull or by having a friend push them out from behind the unit. I like to clamp them in place while I secure them with screws from the inside. Add pulls and you're almost finished. As a final chore, I nailed on a piece of plywood to cover the backs of the lower compartments so shoes and things can't get pushed back underneath this unit later. I'm liking this two-toned look. You could do yours all one color if you like, but I went with 2. Even though it's all the same pine, I waxed part with light brown and part with dark brown wax, and the result is a lot nicer than stain would have been. You may choose to put baskets in the upper compartments like I did, and a pad would be nice on the bench if you can find one you like. Try searching Amazon. The most important thing is you have a piece of furniture you can be proud of. Don't forget to check out the plans in the descriptions below this video. I'll also link to other projects you can build with simple tools. See you next time. Who says you can't get track saw quality cuts from a simple circular saw? Boratool's new WTX clamp edge guide system is light, it's easily portable, and it's far less expensive. And with the optional router and jigsaw attachments, the system's more versatile too. Check it out at the link in the notes below this video. Wait, don't go yet. If you're new here, please subscribe and remember to ring the bell. I would really appreciate that. Give us a thumbs up, or better yet, leave us a comment. I always read them. And be sure to check out the latest issue of Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal. It's always packed with tips, tricks, and tutorials designed to make you a better woodworker.